Hey, everybody, it's Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. It is a mandate from here at giantbomb.com. Welcome to the Giant Bombcast, Revengeance. We have a lovely group of folks today. I couldn't assemble a better group of people to talk about some of the games we will be chatting about today. I'm your host, Jan Choa. Giant Bombcast, Revengeance is brought to you by NZXT. Joining me today, powering up the Voltron that we are today, TurboShawn McDowell.
Yes, empowering me is the nice yerba mate that I'm on now, thanks to our Argentinian friends. God, I needed this today.
Our own Argentinian adjacent friend, Michael Higham, is here.
Shit, I'll take it. Hey, listen, sometimes, growing up, most people thought I was Mexican. So that's, we're the Latinos of Asia. So I'll take Argentinian. I'll take it up with my homie Diego.
There we go.
See how it feels.
And then the Latino of Asia of Europe, Mike Minotti.
Don't give that to him.
I think that's right.
Italians.
I think that's Italians.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know what? As the only actual Latino here, I'll give it to him. Sure,
Okay, there we go.
Have
There
that
we
one
go.
for a day, Mike.
I mean, our Argentinian friend Christian loves some story about like some Italian person about to be executed, like somewhere in like the Congo or something. That the last moment, some guy like comes racing. It's like, wait, don't shoot him. He's not white. He's Italian.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that terrible Dragon Ball Super clip when they decided to, hey, let's go make a bad guy, but let's just call him Goku Black.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need.
Yeah.
You can find that clip online if you just search some specific keywords. It's
But things are a little different in Japan. All I'm gonna say is don't look up what Umbreons call in Japan. You don't want to know, man. You don't want to know.
I actually don't know.
Oh, the Pokemon. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Don't say it. Don't say it. You don't want. You actually don't want
Just
to
say
know.
it.
Let's keep it moving.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Things are different. It's a different language. Things
Hey.
are different.
Hey,
Anyways,
Japan.
What's
Japan.
Espeon called?
Oh, Mike, I just need to gauge your reaction to figure this out.
yeah.
I think it's just like sparkly. Or
It's
something.
just Elfie. It's not Whitey like I thought it might be. To be clear,
Through the
So
power of
it's fine.
context, you can kind of discern what Umbreon's name is in Japanese. Pokemon Company in Japan, maybe reevaluate some things.
Do something.
Yeah.
We can rename Pokemon, I think. Right? Gents, we're here today to talk about Persona 3 Reload. But before we talk about that big honkin' game, anyone playing anything else? How's everyone feeling? We're in February now.
There's too many games again.
I'm fucking
already.
tired, dog. I think
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
spent 95% of January assigned to covering a very long RPG.
Yeah.
So I went from Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth straight into Persona 3 Reload, and these are very long games. 60 hours in Infinite Wealth, review on hit video game website GameSpot.com, and another 70 hours on P3 Reload on hit video game website IGN.com. So
I don't know how
Well,
you did it, man.
been very
That's
busy.
impressive.
Good thing there's no big JRPGs coming out in February, huh?
Oh,
Eh.
who's to say?
Who's to say? Oh God. Yeah, I kind of felt that hardcore after when we got P3 codes come in, and I was like, where do I start juggling and stop playing Like a Dragon where I'm having a lot of fun to actually check out this other game for the podcast and the website. But Mike, before we get to Persona 3, you wanted to talk about Penny's Big Breakaway.
Yeah, I actually got sent kind of a preview code for this. So this is the game by the studio that did Sonic Mania, that really, really good retro-style 2D Sonic game. This is not with Sega, it has nothing to do with Sonic, but this is a 3D platform that they're making now. And it's still very Sonic adjacent in a lot of ways. Like, there's a bit of Sonic Adventure here in terms of how this feels, but I think because it's not necessarily Sonic, they don't have the problem that a lot of the 3D Sonic games fall into, where they feel this desperate need to make it all fast, because, like, Sonic fast. And being really fast in a 3D platformer is just very difficult to control sometimes.
Yeah.
So they have to, they're redesigning how those games work all the time to try to find something that works, and they get close. I think Frontiers feels pretty good. The Boost games can sometimes feel all right. But here it feels much more like a traditional 3D platformer, right? Especially one of those kind of I don't know if isometric's the way to put it, but that kind of 3D platformer where there's like the pulled back camera, something like maybe more like an Astro rescue mission,
like
or
a
like
chase cam,
like the chase cam kind of thing, or even Kirby in the Forgotten Land, or Sackboy, like one of those. But you do have a pretty fun moveset here. Your whole gimmick is you have this yo-yo, and you can use it to attack, but you can also use it to kind of do this swing jump wherever you are. You can grab a ledge with it. You can also spin it up and then roll on it like Sonic Spin Dash. So you have that whole thing going, right? Absolutely. But the whole game just also has this really nice kind of Y2K aesthetic, if you remember, just sort of the way games looked and felt at that time, with the sort of cheery visuals and the music. So it's absolutely nailing that. I am very impressed. I think it's super cool to see these smaller teams being able to make really cool 3D platformers now. It's kind of like back in the day when we weren't getting too many 2D games, and all of a sudden we had these indies and smaller teams stepping up to bring back those games. I think it's happening a little bit already. But we had stuff like Hat in Time and whatnot. But excuse me, this is really promising. I was very impressed.
Mike, I don't know why I feel like you may be the expert in this, but I've always been curious to go back and check out Billy Hatcher.
Oh,
I know why you think I'm the expert.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I think 3D platformers have a certain aesthetic, and I associate them with you.
GameCube, Sonic Team. Billy Hatcher's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
You can go try it. It's a little bit of Glover. There's a little Gloverness to it. Remember Glover?
Oh, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then we're not on
What's
speaking
this
terms.
unfortunately?
Is
What do
that,
you
is
mean?
that the hamburger helper?
I only say
Yes, exactly.
I only say unfortunately because my only exposure to Glover was at a Nintendo 64 demo stall at my local Toys R Us, and any and every time I timed out to go to Toys R Us, one of the employees was always hogging the machine playing Glover.
Well, you gotta love the glove, Jan. JR told us that. That was the best. When Glover was sponsoring Monday Night Raw, so JR would have to say, gotta love the glove.
Oh, God.
Hey, yo,
God.
relax. There is actually a game that I did play that is not Infinite Wealth or Persona. I just remembered is called, it's from the same people who made A Space for the Unbound.
Oh.
It is a short time loop game called Test Test Test. It's free. And it is wild because it's kind of like a psychological horror that is a commentary on like work culture and working in corporate life and how your bosses treat you in the workplace. So I highly recommend checking that out. It's not the most elegant puzzle style adventure game, but I think once you start to kind of dig, it's also has ARG elements too. So I blasted through that in about an hour and a half. It's free. I think it's worth it. And I love seeing more creative games come out of Southeast Asia, such as this. Man, y'all got to check that out. It doesn't cost anything, so support the homies.
All right. Yeah, I like the Space for the Unbound a lot because of your rec, Michael. So maybe we'll check Test. Sean, have you been playing anything else that you can talk about or would like to talk about?
Well, me being me, Jan, of course, I've been playing a lot of Tekken 7,
7? Or
7?
8.
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I gotta get used to that. It's like when the year flips over. I'm still saying 2023. You know what it is?
It's like,
but,
Sean,
yeah.
I always had a little inkling that you were you had a skosh of like a hipsterness to you. So I wouldn't put it past you to play Tekken 7 when Tekken 8 is new hotness.
Noctis ain't in 8, so I kind of, gotta go back every once in a while. But no, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Tekken 8, been playing with my friends. Me and Mike go a few rounds whenever we're like doing a show together or whatever afterwards, and that game is just a freaking blast, man. We played it a little bit for UPF the other day, and then been talking about it here or there. The one thing that I wanted to get more time with was the online before really talking about it. Because everyone knows at this point, the story's incredible. Arcade Quest, that's just a fantastic tutorial mode. And you got all these character stories and other little bits of single-player content. But when it comes to the multiplayer, I really had to put it through its paces. Because, I train for tournaments and everything like that. I got a big one in a few months that I need to get ready for. So I need online to be good.
Big
so that way,
here.
Yeah. Gotta get that full-fledged experience. And it's better than I was anticipating,
Okay.
but it ain't perfect. And we live in a world where like Street Fighter 6 is basically perfect online. And so
Mhm.
going into Tekken 8, when you have a really good connection with your opponent and you can see if it's wired or Wi-Fi, because a lot of consoles are probably gonna be on Wi-Fi.
Oh, I like that you can
You
see
can
that.
You can see that, yeah, because it'll be a Wi-Fi indicator if it's Wi-Fi. Otherwise, it'll be like the cell
Yeah.
phone bars if it's wired.
Mhm.
And if you go into a Wi-Fi match, man, that is a coin flip. You never know. Like it could be okay, like maybe a little jittery, but fine, or it could just be freezing every couple of seconds.
I've seen some nasty work out there with Wi-Fi players.
Yep. And there's that, and then if just someone's connection sort of shits the bed for a little bit, like I was playing with my buddies the other night, and the game just froze for a second. We're like, what happened? Well, wife turned on Netflix upstairs for my buddy, and I'm like, I'll do it to this game because So apparently, from what we've been able to suss out, it has rollback in netcode to a degree where it's like it's kicking in, but not in the way that we want it to cover up those network hiccups that can happen unexpectedly, and that's what you want. People have heard rollback netcode. Fighting game fans, we just throw it out there all the time. That's why we want it, because when it's properly implemented, it covers up the really bad connections. So that's like the one blemish on Tekken 8, I would say. It's also getting into a lobby and playing with friends is still a little funky. I'm willing to overlook that a little bit because it's still launch window. They're figuring some of that stuff out. We'll see what happens. Like the bug that we had the other day, Jan, where you can only spectate one match and then the spectators get booted. That's still there.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, when I was playing with my friends, we had to like all have Discord streams pulled up, and that was kind of annoying. But for the most part, like I think these are things that can be fixed, and the infrastructure is there. It's just a little janky. So I think the online for this game, it could be better, but it's the best that a Bandai Namco fighting game has ever been, at the very least. So we're getting somewhere with it.
Well, Sean, I actually want to talk to you more about Tekken 8. What is the FGC scene feeling with Tekken 8? What's the general beat on the street? They digging it? Okay.
Everyone's
happy.
Because
everyone's very happy with it.
I always
beating it in the street. That's crazy.
Hey, they're already street fighting in the streets. Might as well do everything else there too.
Okay.
But I remember specifically the one Evo that I attended in person. The most hyped I got was watching the Tekken block specifically.
Yeah.
So like I'm especially excited. Like Tekken 8 has to be at Evo this year, right?
Man,
Yeah. Okay.
It makes me
cool.
want to go. I've never been to Evo, and like I want to go
saying,
this year, so I could
it's
see
Vegas.
Tekken 8
I can drag you guys there.
I've said many times on the Bombcast, I have had the Evo reports over the years, man. Evo is more fun than any convention across the industry because there's so much to do. There's so much to get excited about.
It's true.
And Tekken 7, like last year, was dog, like that game is old, and
it was
still
good.
Getting hype.
It was good. It was a little. It ended pretty defensive, so we didn't have as many hype moments. But I think back to like Combo Breaker 2019, I think it was. Tekken 7 still a little fresh. Things were still a little spicy back then, and there were moments that like the crowd was chanting. We had like USA versus I think it was Korea a couple times, where you have those rivalries that happen because Tekken's such a worldwide game. There were moments that I will never forget. Like you feel an energy in the room when like USA is about to get eliminated. We have one rep left in the bracket, and everyone literally stands up and does a spirit bomb. We all have our arms in the air. We're like hooting and hollering, and just dude wins. This room pops off. Like 10,000 people jump up and down, screaming at the top of their lungs. It's the coolest fucking thing in the world.
Yeah, Tekken is the most international. I think it's like the most diverse in terms of like countries that are represented in the brackets because
definitely,
like Arslan.
It's always
Ash
like
is
that, and like King of Fighters tends to be pretty diverse too. But
Arslan Ash is like representing Pakistan and has like a bunch of homies with him too. And like we don't really fuck with Filipino champ, but he was one of the best to do it for a while. And a bunch of Korean players, Japanese players, US of course. It's all across the board, man. Tekken is probably the most exciting fighting game to go to an event for.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and the thing is, like the wild thing, if you attend a convention, whether if you had the ability to go to an E3 in the past or even a PAX, there's kind of like a shutdown time, right? If you're not interested in playing like the board games or whatever, but like Evo goes for a long time during the day. And just like, even if you're just like watching a game and not even like the big games, but like when I went with Ben Pack, I passed by 2 hotel rooms on the way back to my room, cash games going out.
Oh yeah, money matches out the ass, dude. Absolutely.
It is insane.
Snitch. No snitching.
No, I'm not. I didn't see anything.
It's in the culture, man.
but-
It's all cool.
I know.
It's in Vegas too. Come
Yeah.
on, that's good.
And then I just looked at the dates for Evo 2024, and I will be on vacation during that time, and I'm
When
bummed
is
Yeah,
it?
in
out.
Vegas.
It's funny because I will have to go to Vegas
July.
after Evo's done, like the day after Evo finishes.
Oh.
You're already gonna be there. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm gonna go to Japan this summer, and then coming
Dude,
back.
We're going to Disney Sea. That's way more important. Yes.
Yes.
Get the fuck out of
Yes.
here.
Mike, as you know, my partner is also a Disney fan.
Yes.
And then she looks at me and goes,
Oh,
"Would you
Emmy's
be?"
a Disney adult.
You know that she's a Disney adult. You've been in her
I know
apartment
that.
now.
I've been to your apartment. I had dinner with y'all. I didn't get the vibe that she was a Disney
You
adult.
wouldn't have gone if you had known.
Yeah, I don't know about this, man.
There were at least like 3 popcorn buckets on our bookshelf.
No.
There was a
damn,
Mickey
very
Wizard
nice.
hat there as well.
Michael's putting the pieces together in his head. Like, why'd she warn me about
Now I can't see it, and I can't unsee it when I come over now.
But Mike, you'd get a big kick out of this. She looks me in the eyes and goes like, "I hope you know, since I'm fronting the bill for the tickets until you pay me back, we're going to Disneyland and Disney Sea for 2 days."
Absolutely. The first time I went to, not even Paris, France, but the first chance I got to go to France, I took a train for like 4 hours to go to Paris to see Paris, but mostly to go to Disneyland Paris. So, like, I get it.
In terms, like, Mike, what is the size of Disneyland Paris in comparison to like the USA parks?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's similar to Disneyland in California in that it's 2 parks. The one's pretty small though. The kind of downtown Disney area is probably at the same size, but then there's like a giant hotel plaza right by that that dwarfs the hotel complex that you would get in Disneyland. So yeah, definitely compares more to Disneyland than to Disney World, which is absolutely huge.
Okay. I'll get everyone little treats and trinkets and figure out how to send it out.
Please,
I'll take so many pictures. You know what? I'll make like a little Disney Sea vlog just for you, Mike Minotti.
I would love that. That more than anything.
Of course you
I'm just gonna whisper, like, "Mike, look at this. I think you'd like this."
I would, and I'd be like, "You're right. I do like that."
Yeah, I'll leave enough space in the audio track for you to chime in as well.
Thank you. I
Commentary.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Apparently,
I can't wait to see your reaction to that Sinbad ride with that song. You're gonna love it.
so Sinbad is like not like the comedian Sinbad, but like the
No,
pirate Sinbad.
like that guy who went on adventures and stuff.
Okay,
Got,
that's my
like,
only.
He's got an equivalent of like It's a Small World in Disney Sea, and it has a very, very catchy song.
Okay. I'm hearing from the chat that they've gone stricter on vlogging. Don't worry, I'll find a way. I'll always find a way to point a camera at something. Gents, I think it's time to talk about the big game at hand. I'm gonna play the music just cause.
Go.
That's the one.
Persona 3 Reload. I'm gonna say this now. I'm gonna start our conversation about Persona 3 now. I'm 20 hours in.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I
do
don't
Jan.
like it.
Don't do it.
Fucking damn it, Jan.
And
Okay,
I wanted to assemble 3 big Persona heads, 3 dear friends, and say that I'm not. I
What's
enjoy
wrong?
it.
I don't know if you can call me a dear friend.
Oh, you didn't even know.
First I find out Emmy's a Disney adult, and the next thing I know, Jan shits on.
Jan, you're
what is it?
offending my religion right here. We don't do this in this house. Come on, man.
What's wrong? What's wrong, Jan?
I guess I'll start it off the front. I think Persona 3 Reload might be my favorite game of all time.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, okay, so-
Fight.
No. So here's the thing. Here's what I need someone to talk me off the cliff here, because I'm 20 hours in, and I think the game looks absolutely amazing.
Mhm.
It looks gorgeous, and like I said this on the Bombcast earlier this week. My only introduction to the series originally is just seeing screenshots of a PSP. So I have no frame of reference. The only things I knew about P3 was that they use the
Evoker.
revolver, the revoker to
Evoker.
to summon their persona, and I always thought that was metal as hell. And then I know the baby song that Mike was singing earlier.
Or the remix Babe if you're good and you
pretty
get back
good.
attacks.
Yeah.
I do like that.
And you gotta
And-
get back shots to get the good song. Or get the new song.
Okay. Okay. Actually, that explains why it's different when I. Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
Ambushes
like-
get you a different one.
It's like Royal, where you get the new song if you get back shots.
Oh,
and
okay.
normal song if you get the normal, you don't get an ambush.
And I've heard like middling things on Junpei of people either really liking him or hating the crap out
Oh
of
my
him.
god.
I'm kind of
alright.
loyal to Junpei. I mean, he's your first friend. Come on, he's nice
Okay.
to you.
I'm gonna say this up front. Junpei is the best version of that archetype
Yes.
because he breaks out of that archetype.
Okay.
You're right.
So we got Junpei, Yosuke, and Ryuji. We're talking about
Ryuji,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ryuji's the
I love Ryuji.
Oh, Ryuji's not.
I'm
Have you
so
played
over
Persona
it.
4? Have you played Persona 4? Because
Yeah, but
Yosuke
he's-
fucking sucks.
Well, Yosuke's
Yosuke
like,
is
but
the worst.
Yosuke's like a
Yosuke's a-
pathetic. Yosuke's a pathetic loser. Persona 5 guy. He gets kind of mean and stuff. I don't know. I don't like him. Plus,
Wait,
it was
who-
also the third time we did that trope at that point. It was a little tiresome.
Dog, Ryuji fucking rules. Yosuke's
Yeah.
a homophobe.
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
listen. I was
Okay,
gonna be the
well,
one saying
right.
it, but yes,
All right.
yeah.
We're talking
They'll
about
fix that
Persona.
in the-
All the
They'll
gates.
fix that in the remake. They'll be fine.
All right. Well, I mean, I have hope because the Persona team nowadays are a lot more open to revisiting a lot of those elements. Which,
And that's something they addressed in this game, right? Because I remember
to an extent, yes.
Okay. 'Cause
Yes.
I remember that being a controversy and like a worry when P3R was rumblings.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was a beach scene that kind of. I think it was mostly all
Which
in that one
is
scene.
very different now. It's
Okay.
no longer just
In the
Yeah.
original one, it was a transphobic dialogue scene with all the guys. They were out on the beach trying to holla at girls and shit, and then they have like this whole thing with who's supposed to be a trans character, say some transphobic shit. They revisit it, they rewrote that section, but you can tell that it's like, here, let's put the like original scene, but like let's change the dialogue so that scene still happens. It just plays out completely differently.
Okay.
So yeah, there are things like that. And in P3 Reload, like I almost forgot that in P3 Fest, and if you play the mail route in Portable too, that when you max out the social link for any of your classmates, your female classmates, you have to date them. Like
Oh.
they
Right.
become your girlfriend by
It's-
default by maxing
messed
it out.
up.
And I was like, holy shit!
And
I
considering
forgot that happens.
yeah. One of them talks about how she was like cheated on and everything like that. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's fucking
don't do this
wild to
me.
think back to
No.
it, but that's not the case in Reload. You can actually be like, hey, we're like really good friends. Congrats, max rank 10 social link. So
Yeah.
That's
There's
like
a lot of that
that's like
stuff
the
that-
bare minimum
hmm
type
Right.
shit.
Yeah, I
Plus,
think
number
that's
4 and 5 getting added to it is just very good for it.
Yeah, that's a big thing here, and it's actually a sticking point for me. This game it's beautiful for one. It's a fantastic visual
Yeah.
overhaul, but for the most part, it is pretty one-to-one the original
Mm-hmm.
vanilla Persona 3,
Okay.
just with quality of life and gameplay changes from later games, specifically like where Persona is at with 5 Royal. And I think that does mean that some of the 3 isms that always bugged me are really still bugging me. Like Tartarus is still boring. And to be honest, if I didn't have the Steam Deck back there to like grind those out while I'm watching a Twitch stream or something, I would just be bored out of my mind during those segments. Like
yeah.
they're faster than ever because of some of
Yeah.
the quality of life updates, but still wandering down hallways that all look the same for like 20 floors at a
Yeah.
time or whatever.
So in Persona 3, like the dungeon is a randomly generated thing, and the gimmick is every time you go in, it gets changed again.
Mhm.
Persona 4's dungeons work the same. It was really Persona 5 was the first one where they made the dungeons kind of handcrafted and bespoke, and they have these set pieces and
They're like
these
Zelda
specific
dungeons in
puzzles.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's still like an area for randomly generated stuff in Persona 5, but it's not nearly as important as those main dungeons. I think that will be a sticking point maybe to people coming to this from Persona 5. I don't mind it so much, but I'm somebody who played Persona 3 right back when it came out, so I have some
Yeah.
affinity for that original Tartarus. I do think there is something kind of fun about just like the random maze element of it and the exploration. It's very dungeon crawler like, right? And
Yeah,
it
very
kind of goes
old
back
school
to
dungeon crawler.
yeah, kind of goes back to the SMT roots a bit there.
Yeah, so I think so my biggest problem so far is that it just feels like I'm following the same routine, and I just have the same worries that I always have when I'm playing a Persona game of, am I maximizing my day properly? Am I going to pause the game to look up the quiz answer of the day or like the lecture
you
answer?
Definitely do.
I like
have
the
that
online
quiz guide.
connectivity. Use the network function.
Oh, okay, because like I always turn that off, so maybe I'll turn it on.
No,
Maybe-
you got to turn that
no,
on.
Yeah.
use
Okay.
network,
Okay.
so-
Okay.
You get all the answers straight up off that.
Yeah, it does
so
help actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff that helps you with that too, because
Yeah.
now not only do you have the mini map, so you can basically fast travel very easily.
I did really enjoy that aspect.
It's a
of, like,
great change. It's a great-
navigating.
yeah.
you have
Yeah.
text messages now.
That's the other big one, yeah, because that was a big thing, especially in Persona 5. You know, obviously you have a smartphone that you pull up, and your friends are in like a group chat with you, and they'll like let you know, hey, I'm available today. And now you got that in 3, where the character busts out their flip phone and they got email, so period appropriate and everything, because this does still take place in 2006. But that's a great way to keep track of, okay, these people are available today. You're even on mailing lists for like the restaurants, which pro tip, you go do restaurants, both eating and working at in the early game, because getting 2 stat points and sometimes getting some cash for working,
Yeah.
great way
work
to
at Pickle
you know,
Cafe,
really-
baby.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
and I think my problem was like halfway through Persona 5 Royal, I think I stopped just playing the game and I started playing it with like a guide next to me, just so I maximize everything.
That's a you problem.
I know that's a me, because like I just want to make sure like I'm not missing out on anything by like a certain like day or whatever.
And I get that anxiety, and what you want to do is maybe find a happy in between. And that's like to read the basic tips. And the kind of basic tip is, in the daytime, do your social links. At nighttime, do your stat boosts, and try to prioritize some of those things that give you better stat boosts, like going to the arcade. But I mean, another part of it is a little point, and it's hard to say, hey, just don't be anxious about it. But you kind of have to let it go a little bit and just sort of do your best. And hey, like no matter what, you're going to beat the game and get the ending. And you're going to max out the social links that you probably want to. It's not like in Persona 4 Golden, right? If you don't max out the social link with that new character, you're not going to get that whole extra dungeon,
right?
Or something
Yeah,
like that.
that was fucked up.
So that's where
I feel like a lot of people in 5 Royal missed the last palace and that whole story arc, which is like 20 hours worth of content and some of the best shit I've ever seen in an RPG.
Yes,
a lot of people missed that because they didn't do the social link with the counselor in time, and I'm like, that's a goddamn shame.
And
but there's none of
Jan,
that in P3.
Okay.
If this eases you a little bit, have you played Persona 3 before, Jan?
No, not at all.
Okay. I'll say that I think Persona 3 has some of the best social links in the entire series, but it also has, I think, some of the worst.
Yeah.
There's because for every one where you have where like I really like that, hey, this neighborhood kid is dealing with her parents getting a divorce and everything. I really like that one because it's like, oh, that's something I wouldn't have expected. But then you have the dude who's like the king of eating or whatever, and it's all just about just about a large kid eating a lot. It's like,
right, that one.
And so
but then you have the Death Arcana, and this one rules. That's such a good social link, right?
Okay.
The guy, the guy who's dying.
That's the Sun That's the Sun Arcana.
Oh,
but like,
I just assumed it was death. My bad.
Yeah, no, because
he's
his
dying
whole thing,
and all.
Right.
His name in the menu is "Dying Young Man." I'm like,
my mistake.
But yeah, if you see that one through, it's a very touching story.
I
really like
that
one too. Yeah,
I think to that point is that as Sean and Mike had mentioned, this is almost a lot of it is 1-to-1 from the original game. So a lot of those things that haven't aged well still come through, and that's because like the franchise has evolved so much, especially in terms of how it incorporates a lot of those social elements into the game. So you're gonna see a lot of like Kenji, your first classmate who wants to chill with you. That fool fucking sucks, and his social link is ass. And then you'll have so there's a lot of hits and misses. I think like one of the rival track team guy is like one of the best ones too. So it's you there are some that you can probably pick out and be like, I actually like that fool. I want to spend time with him. And you don't really need to think about like, oh well, I don't upgrade this Arcana, so when I fuse personas, they're not going to be as strong. It's like you'll figure it out.
You'll get a good enough persona.
Yeah.
If you max out a few social links, you're going to get a good enough persona stable to beat the game.
Yeah, and to preface this a little bit, me and Jan are around the same point, like around 20 hours. Like I just got Fuka on my team, so like
nice.
that's like a third-ish the way through. So Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't think it changes later, but there are no social link perks, correct? Like outside of just the you get better fuses. There's nothing like in Persona 5. You could get like when you rank up the social links, sometimes they would have stuff that happens.
Well, that's how you would get like baton pass and things like that.
Right? But even beyond that, so certain things would change.
So with the social link system itself, no. But there are one of the things that I thought was one of the best additions and changes for Reload is that they have separate social scenes and social events with these characters.
Yes.
So so after you get Fuka into your party, that's when they introduce like gardening, watching TV, cooking with them, reading books. So those are ways to upgrade your stat points, and at the same time, the more time you spend with the specific character, they get stat boosts and stat perks that go into battle. And then so with the male party members too, is that there were no male party members social links in 3 and 3FS and the male route and portable. But what they did to make up for that was they added separate, distinct social events with them in particular. And I think it's really important to check your phone because they'll text you. Like Akihiko will be like, hey, I'm chilling outside the station. Do you have a minute? Do you want to kick it? Let's get some food or something. And those aren't just like, hey, I'm going to hang out with him and maybe get a stat boost or get an academic point or whatever. Those actually lead to revelatory moments for those characters. And so those are scenes that are specifically written for Reload. And one of the things I mentioned in my review is that those new scenes have like have a heightened quality because they were written. And then so when you have the contrast for old social links that are pretty much the same as they were in the original game, and then in 2024 you have these kind of thoughtful and touching moments with your bros, there's a noticeable contrast in quality. You could tell what was newly written. But those are also the ways in which you get new perks for like their theurgy attacks, and they got stat boosts, and it's like super helpful stuff. So I highly recommend seeking that stuff out.
That's a big new thing too, the theurgy, which I just got a little while ago.
Yeah.
They just added limit breaks to Persona, which like it makes all the sense in the world. Of course, give everyone like a flashy super attack in Persona. That just of course that clicks. And that's one of those layers that adds stuff that I think really starts fleshing this out. I did want to address in the live chat here, there was a little confusion. It looks like people might not have known because of how we're talking about this being very faithful to the original. You can control your teammates in battle, to be clear.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
wait,
not
was that
like faithful to Persona 3 Portable, where that was also implemented.
Yeah.
You can
any like core gameplay stuff you would expect out of Persona nowadays is there. So controlling your teammates, the baton passing, which is now called shift, and all that stuff, in addition to the new stuff like theurgy.
But I mean, go ahead, Jan.
Oh no, I just didn't know that was a thing of the original Persona 3. That sounds infuriating.
Yeah, it's wild.
But why Persona 3 rules and why it always ruled is the aesthetics, right? I mean, I can't tell you the smile I had on my face when I was in this school and I was hearing that song for the first time, the da-da-da. I was like, oh my gosh. I remember just like, it's not too often just like a song, especially kind of like a lo-fi song, kind of gives me goosebumps. But
yeah, dude,
gosh, this soundtrack is an all-time great one. And plus having like that kind of flashier UI elements, right? Persona 5 killed it with the UI and UX, right? You have more of that in here too.
Yeah.
The game just looks so good with things like battle transitions and some of these UI effects, even just in dialogue, right? Then the menus. Like that is so much about what makes Persona incredible to me. It's just how incredibly good they are at aesthetics.
Yeah. And speaking of like since you touched on the music, I think that's that is part of the Persona experience. Like the music is part of the series storytelling. In a way, I've said this before on After Dark this week, is that the singer, each Persona game has a specific singer for that soundtrack. It almost feels like that singer is a narrator for the story. Because when you listen to what these songs are about and what they're saying, they're kind of telling the story of what's happening in that game. And they have a new singer, Azumi Takahashi, who's taking over for Yui Kawamura, who has a very distinct voice. And a lot of P3 diehards, such as myself, were like, I'm open to the idea of having a new singer for the soundtrack. But after like spending 70 hours with this game, like, oh no, she's part of the Persona family now, like for sure. And some of the re-recording of the old songs might be take some getting used to, just because that's how we know Persona 3 to be. But the brand new tracks they recorded for Reload are some of the best Persona songs, period.
Damn, okay.
The nighttime theme and Lotus Juice is back, who's the rapper who was on 3 and Q and Q2.
Yeah.
He's back too, and that fool's got some wild bars.
Yeah.
That fool's got some wild bars, but his flow is like so distinct and his voice is so distinct. And he even sings on some of these tracks too. I'm like, oh shit, he's got pipes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the soundtrack, like the new songs, especially the Color Your Night, which is the nighttime theme when you're roaming around, is one of the sweetest tracks, songs I've ever heard in a Persona game. Like I tear up listening to that thing, because when you listen to what that song's about, and when you have finished this game, and if you know what happens in the story of this game, and you listen to a lot of these songs, it gives me chills, man. And so
yeah, when it's like you need someone to get your back, and you know I got your back, and the imaginary crowd goes, "Yay!" I was like, "Oh, this is so sweet."
It's so sweet. It's very very sweet. Even the opening song for the intro movie, like I cannot watch that OP without breaking down completely. It is the purest representation of Persona 3. Like the entire story, the entire history of Persona 3 is represented in that animation and in that song. It is the best OP I've seen ever in a Persona game. It is one of the best songs ever in the series.
3 dancing though.
3 dancing is up there too. That's S tier 2, baby. You know what I'm saying?
I was like, I maintain 3 dancing is the best soundtrack in the series.
I'm not gonna say no to that.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about the new voice cast here? I thought it was very good. It's interesting how a lot of them, like you had told me they were new voice actors, I maybe wouldn't even know. Some of them, like Akihiko, sounded like different, but still really work for me. I think getting a new voice for the chairman is really good, because he always sounded weird as hell to me in the
the majority of them are sound-alikes, but Akihiko is the one that kind of stands out, because if you're used to that like sort of raspier voice, like this does sound a little different.
He sounded like that one guy from like the do-it-yourself, the DIY commercials or something. I think it was Home Depot. He sounded like the Home Depot commercial guy to me. In fact, I Googled it the first time I heard that commercial. Like, I think that's Akihiko from Persona. It wasn't, but damn.
I actually dedicated a whole paragraph in my review to talk about the voice cast.
Cool.
Because I think from front to back, the recasting for this entire game is damn near perfect. There's a lot of, these voices were originally recorded in like 2006 when this game first came out. And so a lot has changed. Like a lot of those voice actors are a lot more prominent now, especially like Liam O'Brien, who does make a cameo in Reload. A lot of those voice actors are in different places now, and some of them are just like you would not want to associate with. I'll say that much.
Okay.
And so from front to back, they did a whole recasting, and I think calling them sound-alikes is doing a disservice to how they both embody the original vision of that character and then make it their own. And especially once the ball gets rolling on the more dramatic story moments in this game, as you get later and later into it, the more they kind of really step into these roles, especially with someone like Yukari, who has a lot of baggage with her, and she like expresses that a lot at certain points in the story. Her and Mitsuru have so much drama together, and the way they go back and forth is very believable. That's another thing too, is that the voice cast expresses these characters in very realistic ways. So when Yukari is arguing with someone, it feels like that's coming from the heart. And someone like Junpei, who's like a goofy ass dude and says like dumb shit, like you really believe like, oh, he is a dumbass. And then when he gets serious, that dude has the biggest heart in the entire crew. And that's across the board. Like something I really like Aigus's new voice actor. The one thing I did kind of miss was having the more robotic aspect to her voice, because Aigus is a robot. But I think like Dawn Bennett steps into the role to give it a little bit more emotion that still feels like Aigus as I remember her. So I think I'm super impressed because that was one of the things I was worried about. I was like, oh, I'm so attached to who these original voices were. Let's see how they can do it. I think it's a good idea to recast the entire thing, but let's see how they can hold up. And 1000% killed it, especially Fuka. Fuka is probably the most improved character to me. Like, she was cool back in the original games, but now it's like I adore Fuka. Like, she's one of my favorite characters now because of Susie Young, who kind of it's a complete like retake of that character, and she does an incredible job of embodying who Fuka is.
That's awesome to hear. So I'm not that far yet. I got my code later, so I'm earlier than even Sean and Jan are. I haven't gotten to Fuka yet, but Fuka was kind of a sticking point with me in the original.
Yeah, you were asking me about this. Yeah. You're like, did they fix Fuka? They fixed Fuka, Mike. They did.
Yeah, something about her was, I don't know.
She sounded like a 70-year-old woman.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Well,
she
now
like a raspy
old lady.
woman.
But now original Fuka out then.
Yeah, she sounds a lot like Haru from Persona 5. Different voice actors, but it's a very similar vibe as
Haru did have Fuka vibes. Not like in a terrible way, but she had some Fuka vibes for sure.
Yeah. So they sound similar.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the voice acting in general, like Michael said, like just things are so different with voice acting now that the quality is going to be higher because direction is better and everything like that. Like the performances are incredible. To be clear, sound alike when I said that only in terms of like they tried to.
I thought Mike said that.
No,
it's okay if you did.
Mike said we can. No.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, never mind. That was a completely valid thing to say now.
Definitely only in the sense that like they want people who like sounded similar to the original voice actor, so it wouldn't be super jarring. Again, Akihiko is like the one where it's like, oh, that's very different.
That was the first one where I was like, okay, like if going in you told me it was the same voice actors, it had been long enough since I played it, I would have believed you.
100% thought a lot of these were the same ones. Where I was like, oh, they recast some of them, and then I looked it up afterwards. I'm like, oh no, they did. Yeah, it's entirely recast, and they do perform just absolutely incredibly.
I mean, it's great. It's very good.
You can tell. You can start telling when like you get to someone like Junpei, where I thought Junpei just always sounded like a tool in the original. He just always sounded like the goofy dude. But now, Junpei has range now, and he actually can
range,
and there are small changes to the story and everything like that, both to accommodate things like theurgy and all those new, smaller new concepts that they did add in. But also, I actually did do some comparisons. That's why I'm a little farther behind. I stopped and did some of this stuff. Like, I looked at scenes from the original compared to Reload, and there's a lot of just like the scene is exactly the same. The script is exactly the same. But these new performances are just so much better that it just drives some of these moments home so much better, and it sells it because Persona it's half visual novel really, and you need, if you're gonna have it mostly fully voice acted, which a lot of this is, like I think even more so than Persona 5 Royal maybe, which perhaps because it's a smaller game that makes sense. Like it's just they did such a great job. But I love it.
I think the part that I've gotten hung up about in my time with the game is everything else in real life is very dour, and then I think where I'm currently at with the game is I'm just waiting for like those little moments and those big payoffs. But to hear everyone talking so glowingly about it, I think it's also because it came out in probably the worst time after Like a Dragon, because Like a Dragon is such a like a dumb himbo game of like, let's fucking do it, guys, we got it, I love you, and then like
This is angsty and darker.
This is angsty and darker.
Darkest Persona by far. Like even like four deals with like a murder mystery, so obviously not the lightest thing in the world. And then
it's whimsical though.
It's got whimsy in the day for sure. And then five addresses some serious topics. Like abuse from your superiors is a big theme of 5 and a lot of that stuff. But 3 is just, I mean, all you need to see is that the evoker is a device they put to their head that looks like they're shooting themselves. That's dark content. Yeah, like metal as hell, like Jan said.
Yeah,
but it goes places.
Okay, all right. That's good to know, because every time I pause the game to save and just think about whether or not I want to keep playing, I'm staring at that menu, and it's like this whole game is dripping in swag, and like Mike, you nailed it. It does bring me back to like that kind of like Y2K-ish 2006 era that after like one of my sessions with the game, I wound up going on eBay kind of looking for cool MP3 players that I'm never going to use.
Hell yeah.
The pillar MP3, yeah.
Yeah, but like it just, yeah, okay, all right.
Swag.
Like,
yeah. What if I told you that Persona 3 has always been my comfort game?
I get that though.
no, it's I don't think that's odd. No, that checks out.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're in the daytime segments, like I get that because it's chill. It's super chill.
Yeah.
I've replayed Fess and Portable a total of 4 times
Dang.
cumulatively.
Ooh.
It was always like my comfort game to go to. So playing Reload though, talking about like the darkness and like how you have to. I guess you have to be in a certain mood to really accept P3 on its own meet it at its on its terms, because it does handle a lot of things that might hit very close to some people. And I think for me, I dedicated a lot of this to my review. It's talking about how playing this, because it's almost one-to-one like the same story, but it was a completely different experience for me. A lot has changed in my life since the last time I played Persona 3. So I have a fresh perspective on the same exact story, and it hit completely different.
Interesting.
Now that where like I know what it's like to go through loss. I know what tragedy feels like. I know how to handle those things. I know how much it breaks you down, because this whole game is there's constantly people dying around you, people losing loved ones, having to grieve, having to move on so fast from the life. And P3, back then it was like I felt like this intense sadness when something tragic happens in the story. I'm like, oh man, that's so sad. I feel terrible for that character. But now when those things happen and I see that happen in this story, I'm like, oh no, I get it now. I know that this character who is handling it this specific way, I know exactly how that feels. And it is so powerful that back in 2006, they nailed it with how they told this story and what they did with it. And it kind of, in a way, it really puts P4 to shame. I hate to say it, I got a fucking P4 poster in the back here. I love that game too. But in retrospect, they hit like bigger topics like life, death, and how to make the most of the time that you have left. How do you handle your life when you know you're about to die? And I think that like the social link with Akinari, who's the guy chilling and has a terminal illness, like holy shit, dude, like I have a different perspective on that with the health issues that I've gone through. And now I understand what he's thinking. Back then I'm like, oh, this is so sad. Now I'm like, oh shit, I can learn something from this guy. And then so as you go through this whole story, it's dark. There's a lot of death around it. But I think once it starts to come around, it's about how you make the most of your time and how to appreciate life. I think Jess Howard, who did the review for GameSpot, I read a review and I think she quoted the Iliad, and it's one of the most beautiful ways to summarize Persona 3 is that everything is more beautiful because we are doomed. And I think that's one of the themes about the game is accepting the inevitability of death. So what are you going to do in the meantime? And that's what all these characters in their own ways go through that whole process throughout the game. It is one of the most mature stories, not like, oh, violence and darkness, but it is grown up in that way that stands the test of time. I call it timeless and powerful and all these other words in my review, but I really do feel that way. And I think the problem is, though, you got to get through the gameplay to see all that stuff. So I totally, and like all jokes aside, I totally get the reservations that people have from a gameplay perspective. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and for folks confused as to like my negative feelings on the game, it's purely from a gameplay perspective of just navigating through Tartarus and having that anxiety when it comes to managing social links. And now hearing from y'all that like, okay, just go with the ones that I'm vibing with more so than feeling like I have to max out every single person just because I don't want to miss out on fusions and all that jazz. Okay, like I'll circle back to it. And yeah, when I booted up the game and then they had like a line or something about what you do with your time, I kind of just like, oh man, I gotta go smoke a cigarette right now, and I don't even smoke. It's just like, oh, okay, all right, it's gonna be one of these games. Persona 3 is this game, huh?
You haven't even gotten to like the good ass parts of the story, Jan. Like, okay, it's not that far off. I think if I recall correctly, within the next 10 hours, you will get to like all of the big plot points that
Okay.
sort of drive the rest of the plot forward. So yeah, we like you and me being around the same area, we are at like basically, it's silly to say about a Persona game, but it's always the case. We've basically gotten through the tutorial here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like that's also like ties back into like a conversation we've had a lot with Backlar about like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. You do have
Yeah.
to invest a good chunk of time to get through the tutorialization of a game, and fortunately, that's the same case with this. I don't think Persona 3 would necessarily grab Grub's attention as much as. I mean, you and Mike would know best. As much as Infinite Wealth has, but
no, it's not. It doesn't have
likes
the
the
Death Stranding.
goofiness.
Doesn't have
Sure.
the Death Stranding 2 also random guitar guy. That you play here, so.
So okay, my question for y'all here, like, is this a good jumping on point for someone that has been Persona curious, or is this kind of like a victory lap for P3 fans?
It's not going to be quite as maybe flashy in some ways as 5 is. I think it's a pure Persona experience in a lot of ways. It's also a smaller Persona experience, which maybe is going to make it more approachable. I mean, this is definitely what Persona is.
Yeah.
And just be, and from that sake, and from being the newest one, and in a lot of ways, Persona 3, Michael's been talking about us, it did do things better than 4 or 5 really ever did, even with all the improvements that would come from it in a mechanics kind of way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think there's any way you're going to like play this one and not like it, but like, but Persona 4 or 5 would really win you over. This is Persona in a very pure, very sincere form.
Yeah.
I disagree a little bit with the sentiment. I would say that like if the question is someone like has never played a Persona game and they've been looking into the series, I do think 5 Royal is still the best jumping on point, despite the fact that it's such a much longer game. Like on average, probably like 30 or 40 hours longer. It's significantly bigger. There's a lot.
I'm
There's a lot
trying
of
to
5 Royal,
remember
man.
like what I clocked in at the end there. Oh, geez.
But I think because 3 is a significantly more linear game, there's less, side content. You can even feel a streamlining in the fact that they didn't change how like the strip mall is laid out. It's still just like a wall of stores, and you like walk up to one and go in. It's not like Persona 5 where you're like wandering around downtown Tokyo and stuff like that. I still think that 5 Royal is still the best jumping on point for the series. But with P3 Reload, I mean, you kind of already know if you're going to play it, because Persona fans, it doesn't matter what we say here, you're going to play it no matter what. And, like, Game Pass people are probably going to check it out and download it. They're into RPGs right now.
Dang,
So, like,
this is on Game Pass.
it's
Wow.
on Game Pass, so like you can just go check it out. Yeah, and I don't know, it's a stiffer Persona, I would say, just on the whole, because of things like Tartarus. It's interesting to go back to this in this form. I've been hoping for a long, long time that we would get a Persona 3 remake. And like when the 4 Golden port and the 3 Portable port were announced, I was like, oh, that's not what I want. But we also got the announcement of 3 Reload around the same time, or I think it was around the same time. I don't remember.
Not too long after.
Yeah, it was something to look forward to. I was hoping, though, that we talk about different remakes and remasters, reimaginings in the case of like 7 Remake. This is a redo, basically. This is
I like
like
that.
the team looked at the design docs, the original ones, which maybe they even did, but hypothetically, it feels like they looked at the design docs for the original game and were told, we're making this game in modern day. We're going to everything we know about making JRPGs, we're going to put it into this one. But as a result, it really feels like, while I was hoping for some the type of upgrade similar to, say, Resident Evil 2 to 2 remake, where it is that reimagining, it is the spirit of the old game, the story of the old game, but the gameplay is significantly changed to be more modern. This is more like a RE4 to 4 remake, where it's not a radically different game. It is just visuals are way prettier than they've ever been. The gameplay is refined, and there is that bonus content, but it's like there is that little bit of, this is kind of the game that I had in my head from back in the day. And that's because it is so similar to the original, while just like rounding off those rough edges.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think yeah, that's pretty much on point. Like when trying to encapsulate like, how much of a remake is this actually, and putting it, like you said, as a redo, but also very much that original design doc exists, but now with the current generation of visuals, like that's a pretty good way to put it. And then so it depends on, I think it depends on just how much stock someone puts into those kinds of things.
Mhm.
And I do agree that I think P5 Royal is the one I would always recommend as someone's first Persona, because I
It's a
think it's the
masterpiece.
best. Yeah, it's front to back, like gameplay wise, the social stuff, the story is trying to tell visually, music, everything like that is as close to that game is just it's a masterpiece for sure. Like Vita gave it a 10 on GameSpot for a goddamn reason, right?
Yeah.
And it is always the one I'm going to recommend. And it's still like a very powerful story that comes along with that. But yeah, it's and so like if you have room in your heart for a Persona, P3 Reload is probably going to click with you. If this is
Okay.
your first time, you don't know what to get into, it's probably a 50-50 shot. But it's also hard to just put myself in other people's shoes because I don't know what their expectations are.
Sure.
I mean, I would, if you're interested, I would 1,000% say, yeah, give it a try if you're interested, especially if you have Game Pass.
Yeah.
But I do tell some people that, to some degree, like give it a chance, and also understand that there are aspects that are still pretty dated because of how faithful it is to that original design. So
Okay.
some of that stuff does come through, and I'm playing. I'm like, oh fuck, like there are a lot of aspects of this game that I think make it the kind of remake that I was hoping for.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I understand that comes with some caveats. Like, yes, in some ways, this still feels like the PS2 game. I think as you get later on in the story, when you start to kind of check things off of your list and you're almost like done with social link routes, you're done upping your stats. The original design starts to see through the design of the game, and we're like, oh damn, well, I guess I'm just gonna burn time so I can get to the next story event. That does happen, and I think that's just a product of sticking to the original a little too much. But at the same time, like this is P3 is so much more to me than that. That in a way, I can not excuse them. It's still part of the critique, but they don't bother me as much as they may bother other people going into this. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's still the best way to play Persona 3, even if
Mhm.
it is missing the answer from 3 Fez, which hey, that was bad, so we don't really miss that. But even if it's missing the female protagonist route and everything that came along with that and all the new scenes, this is still the way that you would want to hop into this game if you are interested, whether you're a Persona fan or you are, sort of just checking things out.
Yeah,
Okay.
I appreciate the route they took for this remake. There's just something about playing Persona 3 again and having it feel like that game, because Persona 3, I remember the excitement just around that releasing, how kind of caught off guard everybody was, right? Like the third entry in the series that even a lot of, JRPG fans didn't know much about, and all of a sudden it was the hot topic, this late PS2 game that suddenly had all this sort of style and this different vibe for a JRPG than we were really used to ever seeing. And it took off from there and then slowly grew into this point now where Persona is an absolute juggernaut in the JRPG space. Just really cool revisiting
Yeah.
where that all really started here.
Okay. All right. All this talk about P3, I'll stick with it, y'all. Wanted to
I'll
start
come
out with a
over.
hot take. I got one over.
Do
so-
what I do, Jan. Like I play big comfy chair back there for like the big story stuff and everything like that. And then when Tartarus comes up, hey, Steam Deck it before bed. Just
Hey,
try not
that's
to
a good
drop
way.
on my
That's a-
face.
that being
that's a
said,
good way to go.
fantastic game on the Steam Deck, right? Like,
So good.
I've been playing it on my Ally, and it's been very nice. On
Oh,
the battery
man.
life is always a problem, but
sure.
Yeah,
runs
yeah, same.
very well.
Listen, this is a very specific thing, but I will say, and I recommend this for Persona games in general. If you can play this on an OLED screen, goddamn, you need to do so. Because I got an OLED TV, an OLED Switch, and a not OLED monitor, and let me tell you, it looks way worse on this thing than it does on either of those. So
Yeah,
if
the
you're able
colors
to,
really pop. They do a lot
it
of
pops
interesting
so much.
things with like
Yeah.
colors, and that comes through a lot of the personality. So yeah, I would second that as well.
Do we want to answer a few specific questions we got
Yeah.
about the game from
we got
chat
some.
Yeah,
here?
totally. Yeah.
I can dole these out, and I
Thanks,
bet
Mike.
Michael or you guys can answer. But Kane Higham was wondering if Michael can answer a quick question. Is it as strict as the original Persona 3 with regards to maxing out all S-links, or did they loosen it up a bit?
I think I can't scientifically answer this, but it feels like I had a lot easier of a time ranking up my social stats because they give you so many more options to do it as well. But also too, I just felt like I've less frequently ran into that instance where you go up to someone and you want to hang out with them, and then it'll say in the text box like, hey, you're not going to be able to advance your rank with them, but you could still hang out and eventually you will rank up with them. I feel like I encountered that fewer times. So in a way, like I didn't try to min-max this when I reviewed the game. I just went with my heart. And I feel like I got more done. That could also be a product of me playing this game 4 fucking times and just like knowing how to go through it. But it feels like I think I maxed out my social stats way earlier than I ever did in any of the other versions. Like you need to get like max rank with all 3 stats to start your social link with Fuka, Yukari, and Mitsuru. And I remember playing the older versions, and when Mitsuru's social link opens up, I was like, shit, I'm still at rank 5 for academics. I need to be a genius to hang out with her. And then I was like rushing to up that so I can start that social link. But I maxed out academics in like October. Her shit doesn't start till the end of November. So I was like, oh, I'm already ready to hang out with Mitsuru. She wasn't ready for me. So, oh, how the tables have turned. So I do feel like I think it's easier, but I cannot scientifically say yes. But with my heart, I'll say yes.
All right. How about our rules here? Wants to know if I'm a gamer on a budget, how viable is it to pick up the original Persona 3, probably meaning portable here, instead?
There's no reason to. This is the best version, and it's on Game Pass. That's the cheapest way to play Persona.
Well, let's say maybe they don't have Game Pass. I mean, do you guys think that you wouldn't even consider telling somebody to just play Persona 3 portable anymore? It would just be like, I would maybe just wait for a sale on this or wait a few years on this one. I don't know why you would go back to portable anymore.
There's no reason to, really.
The only thing I will say is that I still think there's a lot of value in portable because of the female route. Because and I've said this many times in various capacities, but the female protagonist for Persona 3 Portable is probably, besides Maya from Persona 2, I think she's the best Persona protagonist, period. Because they actually give her a personality, and they rewrite almost all the social links for the female protagonist. So you have very different conversations with the female characters throughout the entire game. And I think it's a lot more thoughtful in that way too. And also just like the dialogue options you get, and her design is great. And the new music that comes along with the female route in Portable is all fantastic. So it's a very different perspective on the same story. But it's hard to recommend still when something like Reload comes out. Like if you play Reload and you're like, holy shit, I love P3 with all my heart. I want more of it, but it's done. Then I would say, hey, go play the female route in Portable, because there's some new cool shit that still is some of the best that the series has ever done. And I think it's some of the best writing for a female character in the Persona series, which has historically not been so great. And they kind of hit a lot of great topics with some sharpness in the female route for Portable. So, but
yeah, that's sort of what's to lament here about Reload, is that, hey, it would have been really damn cool if that was in this game and this was just the definitive version that we've always wanted. But instead, going back to that, any of the content that's not in here, that's in Portable, that's almost like supplemental reading at this point, I think, where there's so much of Reload, so much is done quality of life wise, that it's just so much better to play than the older versions of, whether you're talking about the original Fez, Portable, any of them. Like, this is the way to go, and it's accessible. And I get, if you're doing other ways to play certain older games, maybe I get, okay, yeah, that technically is cheaper, but on the whole,
what are you advocating for, Sean?
Listen, I'm just saying, Jeff Grubb's not on this podcast, so I gotta be the one to bring it up, but yeah, fire up Game Pass, fire up some stream, and like it's pretty accessible nowadays.
One thing is really funny when you mentioned Tartarus, like going back to the old Tartarus is kind of miserable. Like they're laid out like mazes. Hallways. Yeah, they're just like mazes and mazes. Each floor is a fucking maze. And like I noticed in Reload, the higher you ascend in Tartarus, the shorter the floors get. It's almost like the game.
Really?
It's like it feels like that way. There's a lot of instances where it's like, oh hey, those are the stairs. It's just down the hall.
Yeah, I did notice that I at least felt like I was progressing through it a little faster because now I'm in the 40s or whatever. I'm like,
and I'm fucking
all right, this is
dashing.
I'm starting to cruise here. So okay, it's interesting. That you said it,
it feels like it gets a lot shorter, and I think it really does get a lot shorter. Whereas the opposite happens with the old versions, where the higher you ascend, the more fucking complex those mazes get. I'm just like, I don't know if I could recommend that in good conscience unless you want to play on easy. But yeah,
Mike, we got any more questions?
One more here from Rad Josh Khan, who just says, I hear they got rid of the condition/stamina system.
yes.
Did they also remove the free healing at the base of Tartarus? Is it more like how Persona 4 handles healing and resource management in dungeons?
we didn't talk about this at all yet.
Yeah, the
Twilight fragments. Yeah. That's something
Um,
that encourages you to actually do a little more exploration, which is I think is kind of cool because in the overworld, there's all these different places to explore, and even if it's a little more shallow than say a Persona 5 or even a Persona 4, the game encourages you to go to all these different places that you might not go because there's not a social link or whatever, and to actually walk around at least and check out all the different, just walk up to it and you press A, you get a little bit of flavor text. But now Twilight fragments are just these things scattered across the ground all throughout the overworld, and when you pick them up or you get them from Elizabeth, because they want to give you something to work with as you progress through the game, but you pick these things up and they can do things for you when you're in Tartarus. And so one of those things is the aforementioned healing your party. You spend 7 Twilight fragments in the main lobby of Tartarus to get that full heal. Or you can also, what else can you, the chests. There are specific chests all throughout Tartarus that you can only unlock that, normal treasure chests, just walk up to it. For this, it's like you need X amount of Twilight fragments. And then the more fragments you need to open, usually the better the item is that you get inside.
Yeah. Elizabeth is still the best Velvet Room attendant, right? Like easily.
1000%. Like she is so goofy. She's so funny.
Yeah, definitely.
So another thing too, though, I would say is like I do not recommend spending Twilight fragments on healing. I would suggest like finding more clever ways to heal your party and restore SP, because there will be times when you run out of Twilight fragments. 7 is a lot.
It's a lot.
And then the deeper you get into this game, the more of those special chests show up. And there's nothing worse than pulling up to a 3-star special chest and you have 2 Twilight fragments and you're like, damn, I know that the best weapon I could possibly get is in that chest.
Yeah, avoid that. Go to the pharmacy on Saturday. Stock up there, save your Twilight fragments.
Yeah, 1000%.
Real quick, because I'm wondering this too. Does Elizabeth still have the social link from Fess in this?
Yeah, well, it's not a social link, but you take her out to hang out.
Okay, whatever it was. Yeah,
that's still there. It's the same as you remember, and it's still very adorable.
Good.
Nice.
Lovely. Well, speaking about being adorable, this is an adorable group of folks we've assembled here today to talk about an adorable, swaggy game. Michael Higham, would you say it's whimsical?
It's probably light on the whimsy. There's no whimsy. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Okay,
maybe not quite as whimsical as other
yeah.
RPGs, but no, I don't know if I could say that.
Well,
no, that's not the word for Persona.
Don't paint the man into a corner like that.
All right. Well, okay. For Persona 6, when that eventually comes out, what do you think the whimsy factor is here?
It'll be higher than this. Here's my question for Michael, Persona expert. Persona 3 blue, Persona 4 yellow, Persona 5 red. What is the key color for Persona 6? Call your
purple.
shot right now. I like it.
I was going to say purple. Yeah.
Purple, yeah.
Run out of colors at some point.
Yeah, they can't use green. That's Soul Hackers. That's Tekken.
Also, green is kind of like half P3 because of the Dark Hour.
A little bit.
Still green.
Yeah, true.
I could see. Oh, purple would be good.
Yeah.
Might be an orange.
What about hot pink?
Swaggy.
Hot pink?
Maybe. Catch on those Barbie vibes, right? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That would be sick. P3P though did pink for the. Of course they did pink for the female route, but P3 just took all the colors.
Okay. Well, last week when I had the panel describe Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth with a series of emojis, I'm going to ask you gents to do the same.
Oh, the face emoji, and then the gun emoji.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll add a clock.
Yeah.
Ooh, the midnight hour little like UI animation, by the way, is very good.
It
I
is
like
very
that
good.
a lot.
Okay.
And a scary ghost.
Oh, okay.
Spooky ghost, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there
Spooky
specifically a rapier emote? Is it, or is that too specific?
No,
'Cause-
I think
Alright.
they have the cross swords. I think.
Yeah,
I
there's like
guess
the,
that's not Mitsuru. I need to represent. but
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's all
I know
right.
the other games have it, and that's just I know why they do, but it's still always so funny to see Yukari just in her bright pink like jacket in like the high school while every other person is wearing this uniform. It's like, can you find the main character?
Yeah.
I wanna-
You know they're part of the party when they break the dress code.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spot
Exactly.
spot the anime protagonist who has
Right.
colored hair, like who has the blue hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the funniest was that Yu-Gi-Oh one of that.
oh my
that-
god.
Yeah.
In a crowd, like, who could it be?
Well, damn. Okay, I've been convinced. I've been wooed to stick with Persona 3. That is
Good.
until
We
maybe.
shot you down.
That is perhaps until we all need to devote some more time to another gigantic JRPG.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe
Who knows if
That
that's
is-
gonna come
that
out?
is
Good thing.
being remade, right?
Who knows? I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah, my PS5 can't take discs, so if this is a multi-disc joint, I don't know what to tell them. Yeah. Michael Higham, where can folks find you on the internet these days?
You can find me and all my bullshit at Michael P. Higham on Twitter and at Higham Michael on Instagram. You can find me writing words and doing things and videos on GameSpot.com and IGN.com as well.
Damn. Okay. Mikey, I was going to say apples. I'm not going to say it. Mikey
do it.
Meatballs.
Mikey Meatballs.
Mikey Meatballs. That seems racially coded.
Yeah, but I like meatballs. I mean, it's true. They're pretty good. Hey,
Actually, real quick question before the plugs. Mike, do you put breadcrumbs in a meatball, or is that
Yes.
no? Okay.
Yes. No. It's important for the right texture. You want to have some. There's a whole video by Adam Ragusa where he did like experiments, like 10% breadcrumbs, 20%, 30%, 50%. He figured out the exact ratio. I forget what it was. Maybe like
Okay.
25%. You need some breadcrumbs in there to help absorb moisture to get a good texture. Yes, they're important.
Okay. I interrupted your thought. You were going to shout something out.
No, just I want everybody to check out the new 90s Disney podcast. It is about Castle of Illusion. It's about a video game, classic Genesis game, and its many sequels and spin-offs and successors and things like that. So yeah, check out 90s Disney, please.
And last but certainly not least, TurboShawn, where can folks find you on the internet? If you want to be found, that is.
Well, if people want to find me, I would be on twitter.com as @TurboShawn_ and then TurboShawn, SHAWN, everywhere else, Blue Sky, Twitch, all, the works. And then professionally, hey, you're already in the right place. Here at Giant Bomb, editing, doing social media, and occasionally being on camera, as you can see.
It's the best stuff. Particularly,
Do-
check out the Death Stranding TikTok that Sean made.
Oh, yeah, it's popping off.
Oh, good.
Aw.
I saw it this morning. I was like, oh, people like that one.
There you go.
Since I am in the presence of Sean, I do
Mm.
want to formally thank you for representing Octopath Traveler 2 in the Game of the Year
Dude,
discussion.
that
Thank
thread
you.
was
You are-
so helpful. I'm
you
so
are a
glad
real
they
one.
did that. That was awesome.
You want to
Fo-
thank me for anything?
I want to thank you for, you know what? I might give you shit for being a Disney adult, but you know what? You are true. You are true to yourself to the very end, and I admire that. And I think everyone can learn something from embracing who they are.
That's very true.
Thank
It's
you.
very true.
Yes.
Mike, are you good on compliments for today? Are you good for till the weekend?
And we hit the quota.
Yeah, I could still use a few more points from Dan on the freaking whatever dash, whatever.
Let me
the
just remove
dare.
a point from your score.
Damn it. Yeah, just go ahead and do it preemptively. That's fair.
Dan's got to maybe jump on a plane this weekend. He has no time to award or remove points.
True. Very true.
We'll see.
No.
We'll see. Folks, that does it for this week's edition of BCR. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Mike. Next week on BCR, who knows what the heck we'll talk about. Maybe we'll have another hot topic. If you want to suggest a topic, feel free to shoot an email at bombcast@giantbomb.com, at me on the Twitter machine, or drop a comment. I rarely read the comments for my own mental health, but I'll do it. I'll do it for you. Folks,
I do it. I'll see it.
thank you, Sean.
There's been some nice comments lately. I don't want to jinx
There's
anything.
been some nice ones, yeah.
People are saying nice things about us.
Okay. See, that's what I was doing, y'all. I was fishing for them. I was fishing for the nice comments. I was like, oh man, I don't read the threads. I don't read the comments. I do. I exhaustively read everything.
This is why he's the producer. Genius.
I just need to make sure that, like, I don't know, like, I didn't show my ass one week, or my screen.
You should.
Well,
Show
that's
That would be a good TikTok.
that's
Yeah, show
super
some hole.
premium that we're rolling out. I don't fucking know. But folks, we'll see you on Tuesday for an episode of the Giant Bombcast. I believe Grub is going to be back doing GMM. I don't know if on Monday, but we'll see. We'll see if he's back from being here and stuff. All right. I've been Jan. He's been Sean. He's been Michael. He's also been Michael. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.